Yesterday I went up to Kokomo to hang out with a friend and go trail skating. And we got, I tracked 8 3/4 miles um, on the little journey, but it had hills. And she lapped this one area a little bit. There's a pump track, I think she called it. And excuse me for not knowing anything about anything. um, yeah, so she did that, so hers was a little bit longer than mine. Um, but since I hadn't eaten anything, that's probably okay. Because by the time I was done, I was about ready to fall over. Um, but it was a good skate, and there were hills, and I was pretty sure I was gonna feel it real hard today, and felt pretty good today. So I decided to come over here and skate again. So I just got done skating at the school, and I felt it as soon as I put my skates back on and stood back up. It's like, oh shit. Still got 5 miles in, but it's relatively flat over here, so that's no big deal. I did try some knee taps. I forgot what they were called for a second. I did some knee taps because we were talking about it yesterday, and it's like, you know what? I've thought about doing those before, and then it's like I end up, I'd rather not. Just make it a fun skating thing. And I told her that my brother has commented that now that I've been skating all the time, I'd probably be more fun to watch playing derby because I be more impressive. It's like, I don't know that I would, because I'm like not interacting with anybody. I mean, well, that's no big deal, but I'm faster than I was, and I can get up faster. But yeah, I still don't think I'd be real impressive. On the other hand, I think I could probably handle a scrimmage and not look like I was going to cry the whole time, because that was every picture of that first season and part of the second season that was taken of me. I looked like I was going to cry. It's like, that's awesome. Yeah. But also not protecting my energy back then, so I didn't know that was something I needed to do. So just being around a lot of energies of other people, it gets to be a bit much. Like, went to some basketball games with my ex. It's like every single time, particularly for the national anthem, it's like just get this overwhelming urge to cry. And I think just because of all the feeling and the history behind all of that, and having had some military experience, that military connection with it, I don't think it's not the song, it's the energy behind the song. It's just like I would feel all of that, and you put thousands of people in a room, and no thank you. Try not to do that when I can avoid it. Yeah, the derby was fun, but I don't know. I think I've talked on here before about, I have this self-care for the cancer book, and it talks about how cancers are best suited for outdoor activities, preferably by themselves. Like, yep, that's me. That explains that overwhelming urge to retire derby and go to skating on my own. But I needed derby. It was very, very necessary for me. Because without derby, derby was where the first new skater workshop that I went to when I started out. I was skating and really in my head, and kept talking myself down and everything, and that was the big thing there. Is it all at once dawned on me, it's like my body's never quit on me. It's never had the opportunity to. It's always been, I quit in my head, and quit way before anything exciting could happen. and it never goes anywhere. I mean, you quit. So after I realized that, I kept pushing on the derby stuff, and it was good. Loved it. Got a little obsessive about buying a whole bunch of derby stuff and not paying attention to the fact that I was losing weight, because that for a while it didn't look like I was losing any kind of weight or anything. It was just kind of toning and shifting differently. So I end up getting all these shirts that are like 2X, and then now that I'm not wearing a 2X anymore, I prefer wearing larges, and I have all these 2X shirts with my derby name on it. It's like, I'm not giving those to Goodwill because that's my derby name. That was my number and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not gonna, I do wear them. I don't love to wear them. Maybe I'll figure out how to sew and take some of the extra fabric in at the sides or something. I don't know. But yeah, I can't just give it to somebody who doesn't appreciate that. Thought about burning them. I looked at the timer right as it was at 6:26, and that was my derby number. That was my birth time. So, yep. And of course, that is, Stitch from Lilo and Stitch was experiment 626. So there was that connection, and I always loved that little guy. So, yeah. I was thinking while I was skating that there was one day that I was skating. I was just thinking about derby stuff too. And my roller derby name was Mystic Storm. And when I looked that up later, because I was trying to figure out my, what I was going to call my webpage and all that stuff, I looked that up first and found out there's a Russian metal band by that name. It's like, I really feel like I need to listen to their music. And the stuff I found that day I didn't love, but it led me to this other group called Mystic Prophecy. And they had a cover of Elton John's I'm Still Standing. And I just heard another one that was on my playlist when I was skating today. And I don't remember what it was, but Because the Night. Yeah. I know I've heard that song many times. Don't know who originally did it. Liked their cover of it though. Yeah, but when I first heard I'm Still Standing by Elton John as their cover, it's like, awesome, I love this. But that was Mystic Prophecy. So I'll have to, I'll listen to Mystic Storm again, but for now, that was just something I was thinking about. When I was up there yesterday, I don't know, it was a great day for a drive. We'll start there. It was amazing. And, driving with the windows down and enjoying that. We had a good skate, and I was about wiped out when we were done. We talked about going straight to the restaurant in Skates, the place we were gonna have dinner at. They said they wouldn't care. They're the ones that lived up there. They said the owners wouldn't care if we went in there in Skates. It's like, okay, so, well, I'm not entirely opposed, because I'm not gonna drink or anything, because TBI and alcohol, they don't mix for me. It's just not even worth it. But I was like, I'm pretty sure if I sit down, I'm not going to want to get back up and skate the rest of the way back. So we went back to their house, and because I was skating with my friend, and her husband was riding his bike with us. But yeah, it was a little bit of a walk over there, but no big deal. Hold on just a second. Okay, but it's kind of fun because they this little bar they had this. Oh, they had the TVs, and like two TVs had like the same football game on. It's like, well, that's kind of redundant. They're right next to each other. But the other one, I think they were playing Killer Klowns from Outer Space or whatever that movie's called. I feel like I saw it probably when I was with my ex, and because I had the tendency to half-ass pay attention to anything when he was around, for various reasons. But yeah, like we got to talking about stuff, ex-related stuff, and it's like, you know, I was telling her about the dogs with their little deal on protecting me, in one scenario that I've talked about several times on here, and it's just like, she said it like gave her chills when I said like all three of the dogs just like jumped up and were like right over top of me, protecting me from my ex, and snapping and snarling at him. And that was like the last week that we were there. But yeah, it was kind of annoying because while I was sitting there and thinking these various things, it's like, here we go again, back on this path. Why? And, you know, then I saw that I had a message from, in the family group chat. It's my parents and me, my brother, and my brother's wife. And apparently my grandfather was going back to the ER last night because of low oxygen. And then that started, you know, it was just, everything is connected. I'm seeing more and more. And like this this stuff with my family, you know, I've talked about that on here before, but like when I left my ex the last time, I had this really strong sense of, you know, needing to figure out how I got into that situation to begin with. And there was a whole lot of fucked up church beliefs that went into, you know, going into that and being stuck there and feeling stuck there for so long, you know, and then linked all that with family drama, just as heavily, you know. And I've talked about my grandpa several times on here, and, you know, I was telling my friends last night, it's like, I said, I had a day back in August, I think, shortly after he fell. He was in one of the hospitals downtown for 15 days. While he was there, I was doing a lot of driving, taking my mom, my aunt, my grandma over there because none of them drive downtown. And, you know, it's fine. They moved him to this other place that was like on the south side, and you could take all back roads to get there. We go there a lot for our like various things, so, you know, my mom and her sister had no problem driving over there, but they still preferred when I went along to wrangle my grandmother, I think is how they call it. And, you know, one of my mom's sisters says regularly that being with any of them is like wrangling cats. It's like, it's not wrong. Yeah. So after he moved out of the hospital and went to the other facility, I had this day, I kind of woke up crying and was thinking through a bunch of stuff, and had this, basically I was having this sort of conversation energetically with my grandfather, and flat out said, I have spent my entire life mourning your death. I will not mourn anymore. and I stopped going, like not completely, I still go periodically, but I don't feel the attachment or the need to go necessarily like I was. And a lot of that's that whole, trying to set that whole situation free, And I told my friend and her husband yesterday that I said it felt like when I did that, there was a shift in, even when I did it earlier in the year, it wasn't as, directly focused on disconnecting to his energy. It was just setting boundaries for myself in general, between me and all my family members. It's like even when I started doing that back in the winter, it seemed like there was a shift in like how quickly he started aging, and I feel like I've been doing it in various ways as I've been learning how much of toxic family drama has played into, getting me into unhealthy situations, mentally, emotionally, and all that fun stuff. And it really seemed like as I was doing that more and more, everybody else still does it, but it feels like there's a lot of aging on my grandparents in a shorter span of time, just all at once. It's different. And it's kind of been that way as I've started disconnecting from my family. Like, the squirrel's playing in the bushes next to me. I'd pull cards and have some of them that were like Archangel Michael talking about severing toxic cords with, loved ones or anyone else. I would get these messages, whether it was in my oracle cards or on, tarot readings I would watch online, or, just something I would hear in passing on TV or something. Just weird stuff would pop up, and it's like, oh, that's confirmation of this. Why is this card like, move over? So I'm parked here. And in the bushes, well, not in the bushes, but right next to the bushes, because the sun was right at my face, and this car just was like pulling, like coming right at me. It's like, seriously, move. We both know you're not going to hit me. Unless you're really jacked up, because I'm clearly not going anywhere. Yeah. Anyway, but it feels like I have been watching a lot of family members age a lot quicker as I've been separating myself out and, disconnecting my energy from them, their access to me. It's a weird thing to watch, and I know it probably sounds crazy, but that's kind of where it is what it is. And then especially when I did that last time back in August and stopped going, it was like my mom and her sisters and my grandma, it's like they're still getting pulled on all the time. It's like, how much of an energy vampire situation do we have going on here? Because it's quite substantial. I'm confident of that, and it's proving that. And, it's just crazy to watch. Yeah. My brother has had some stuff that he's been working through on it too, and it's like I've been trying to get him involved in the minding his boundaries and all that stuff You know, the one thing he has working for in his favor is he has, you know, some Capricorn and Virgo placements, whereas I have none. Like no earth whatsoever. He's got the earth. But yeah, like we still, you know, we're both raised in the same energetically toxic situations. And, you know, yeah, we received it differently, and it was different. People came across a little more harshly at times for both of us, you know, but it was still there, and still a big thing. But, yeah, you know, he's kind of disconnecting a little bit too. You know, he's got a bunch of the rocks and I've got him saging himself before he goes to his, you know, his little class he's doing, and it's like, you're not gonna regret it. You need to do it, and you know, freaking throw in the salt in the shower. It's worth it. Do it. It's like at very least the other stuff, but yeah, you know. And I had this one night, back in the spring. I woke up like 3 o'clock in the morning ish, and mind you, my dog is really, Gidget is really bad about waking me up around that time anyway, because she's ready to eat, and they eat at like 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. So yeah, she's ready to eat by then. But usually it's been, if I get up to go to the bathroom or do anything else and it's 3 or later, then it's like I'll just feed them to get it over with. And now it's a habit, and she's like, hey, wake up. It's time. So I got to work on that. But I woke up, and as I was waking up, I heard Mookite Jasper whispered in my ear. I was like, okay, that's clearly important. So it was like I heard it. I remembered it. I wrote it down immediately, and you know, because I was looking at different rocks that I needed to, yeah, I wanted to add to my collection, if you will. And one of the things that I looked up about Mookite, it talked about something with. Now the wording might not be be exactly the same, because I've been talking about this other stuff, but something about disconnecting from intergenerational traumas and whatnot. And it's like, clearly important. You know, that was one thing that I found about it, but it's like, obviously that's been relevant in my situation, so obviously I got it. And it did help. I am confident that one has helped immensely. For a while I had, I think I had a stone that was in my pocket rocks that I normally have. I do not have them on me now because I was skating, and not all of them react well if you get them wet, so I figure I don't need them in my pockets when I'm sweating. But yeah, I have a necklace that I wear most of the time. Again, you know, I don't wear a whole lot of necklaces when I skate. I have, yesterday I did, but I took off 4 that have this like elastic cord that I used for them. It was just something I had, so I went with that. But I got them tied in a knot together, so I got to work on unwinding those, you know. But I also have a bracelet, and I think there were other things, but like the what were they called? They wasn't just pocket rocks. They were like palm stones. I showed my brother the 2 I had, because I had a red one and I had a yellow one, and asked him which one he wanted. He took the red one, and then I ended up recently giving the yellow one to another friend that was talking about issues he's been having with his family. It's like, hey, you might want this. You know, so I've been handing them out. And yeah, I think I have a smaller rock that I keep in my pocket collection, but I'll have to double check that. Every day I wear the necklace, except for today because it was tangled. But I'm going to work on that tonight so I can wear it again tomorrow. But yeah, it's funny, like those rocks, you know, my mom's made fun of me for having so many bracelets and stuff. I think when I counted them yesterday, I left some off, but I had like 9 on the right side and 11 on the left. But I try to keep keep track. If I'm like, I knew I was going to be skating, but I wanted the bracelets for it's just for me. I like wearing them because I like how I feel with them. You know, and it took a little bit of time to really notice a change, but I feel like I have noticed a change, so I will continue wearing them. You know, and I watched this Nordic Light tarot reading at some point this year, and she was talking about how it's like you're going on a journey and you're reclaiming parts of yourself that you've left scattered around the world and all that stuff. And like I was thinking about it, it's like, okay, so hold on. Same guy walked by with the dog again. Talk to me that time. Yeah, but she's talking about you're going on a journey reclaiming parts of yourself that you've left behind. But you know, as I've been thinking about it, it's like, okay, fall is divine. That's kind of true then, you know, and it's through the people, through nature and all the different things, through the rocks, through animals, and you know, everything. We all have our specific thing that we came to do, but it's through the interconnectedness of, you know, like, clearly I don't have it all together. And I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit that. However, there is something that my specific lessons that I've learned throughout my lifetime, and, you know, personality traits that I've always had or acquired later, you know, like even like the stuff with like my astrological chart, how all of that fits together makes me a certain kind of way, which is unique from the other people that I come into contact with. So on that end, you know, I think that's how we do best at, you know, finding how the pieces fit together. And, you know, I know I am not fabulous at this particular thing, so I'm going to find somebody to help me with that thing. And, you know, just a trade of, you know, whatever capabilities you have. You know, we're not meant to be able to do everything and be everything in and of ourselves individually, because then what need would we have for everybody else? And the point is that everything is connected, everything is one, and everything is divine on that end. And it's only through figuring out what we're good at and what we're not so good at where we can figure out ways to connect with others and network, and build something even better, because we can weave through the connectivity and, you know, we can weave things together and see where we might be able to benefit from having somebody's assistance, or, you know, see where we might be able to be of assistance. I think that's part of this whole journey for me. Just learning how to really appreciate that and connect to that aspect of myself as well. It's like it's like I have these things that I know I can do, or places I can step in and assist. And I think that's part of why I am still in the family situation that I am right now. And, the fact that I had to move home this last time when I was getting my divorce, because I'm starting to put these kind of pieces together. And I did a video a couple weeks ago. It's kind of, I think it ended up being the 2-hour one, where I just got carried away because I did a video in my space, and then a whole new side of me came out. But I was talking about these dots, and I picked this, okay, because I've shown my walls before, and I totally Jackson Pollocked the fuck out of it. Because I had holes in the wall from, where we went to hang up a DVD rack, and my dad couldn't find the stud, and the stud finder wasn't working, and he got pissed, and there were 16 holes in the whole wall because he was trying to find the stud. So when I rearranged and moved that, then the holes were revealed. I had forgotten all about the holes, but then it's I cannot have 16, good sized holes, because they were going to have anchors in them to hold this stupid thing up. And so I had to patch those. But, that started, I had to clear out some, started rehoming some birds, the budgie that was a big direct connection to my ex, and a bunch of stuff. I've been purging as much as I can where I can. And so I got rid of these couple of the cages after I rehomed some birds, and then I was okay, well, I gotta patch that, fix that. I figured it'd be an easy fix. I was pretty sure I still had some of the paint. I did not. But I had 10 to 12 cans of paint from my brother's old house. They had these quarts that they had gotten for various paint projects, and they were going to leave them with the house. It's don't leave them with the house. You're selling it. Don't do that. I will take these. So I took them, and then it's what am I going to do with these? I don't know. But I would I painted a fish tank cabinet at one point. Didn't end up loving it, but it worked for what it was. I since have sold that too, so they can fix it to whatever color they want it to be. Yeah. But I had all these weird colors, and it was rainbow colors because Gracie had a rainbow wall, and various other things just thrown in. So I didn't have the match on the color that I had in my office at the time, but I had all these partial cans. So I, just started painting this random thing. I started with a tree. So I got a tree in the corner, and I wasn't going to paint the entire room, but then as I started doing it, I got really into it, and it's ooh, I like this. And I had the tree, and I was going to put a sunset. Then I didn't like how the sunset was turning out, so I just started mixing the colors and building on that. And then I got to a point where it's okay, I think this is where I'm done with the blending of colors on the wall. I liked how it turned out, but it's it's still not complete. And then I just started throwing paint at the walls, and I had fun. And I have never loved a space so much in my life. And part of that was that, I realized, I had to get this chaos out of my system. So seeing it on the walls is seeing it not in my system. It's like, okay, now like I'm starting to piece things together and organize my thoughts better. It's like, now I can navigate big picture stuff and putting pieces together and all that stuff. But anyway, where I was going with that, I, in that one video, picked out like this random orange dot. It's like, I feel like this dot. And there's a little tiny dot. And it's like, I'm way over here by myself, and there's a few other orange dots scattered nearby, but it's like soul family type, these bigger orange dots that happen to be like leaves on my tree that's got, it's fall because I was approaching fall, and I like fall leaves, so we went with, the leaves are changing on my bedroom, or on my office wall tree. But it's like, okay, so I'm this little itty bitty orange dot. How do I get to the bigger orange dots? And it's like, I'm thinking a big part of it is just building on being authentically me. And doing more things that show me and all my weirdness, and appreciating the things I did not used to appreciate about myself because I thought there was something wrong with me. Because in my family, that's what I was shown. So it's like, basically, to become a bigger orange dot, I just need to be more me and put more of me out into the world, for the world to see and encounter and all that stuff. And I've gotten those messages too, where I listened to one thing, I think it was Magnetize Yourself. She talked about your energy is kind of like a slow burn. And it's like people notice you in some kind of way, but might not think anything of you. Of course, I stand out in a crowd. I have weird hair, and I tend to wear a lot of bright colors, and I am my own art project. So, I coordinate my makeup with my whole outfit and all that. Today we went with Maleficent. I had Maleficent leggings on earlier, which that's what, green. But I did not wear those to skate, so I do, however, have green leggings. They are capris because it is nice today. It's starting to get a little chilly now, but yeah, it's like I am my own art project. So it's like every day, however I put everything together, it's like new art for the day for me. And I get lots of comments, mostly favorable, not always. I went to the library, and my aunt's friend works there, and I guess they went to school together. I don't know. I thought they went to church together or something. But this lady was talking about, she doesn't think she would recognize me if I had normal hair. And she was talking about, even when you were little, you seemed like you had, you always had the colorful hair. It's like, no. It's like I actually didn't start doing the vivids until in the past 5 years. And she's like, really? It's like, I've always liked color, and I always wear a lot of it. But as far as my hair, that's, yeah. Okay, when I was little, I did try to play it down and just go natural on. I tried to blend in because I was told that, not blending in, you blend in, you don't want to stand out. Standing out is bad. That's not the case. But basically, I had to be something completely different than what I knew I was, bright and colorful. That's largely in part thanks to my Leo Venus. Yeah. So, I was trying to blend in for all these years, and then I realized that got me into the that contributed to getting me into the situation with my ex. It's like, I don't want to do that anymore. When I started doing weird things, I had a faux hawk after I left him, and he had started trying to accuse me of being gay, and so was like, you want to accuse me of that? It's like, I'm not, but that's irrelevant. I kind of always had this sense that he was so far closeted he would never come out, and still think that's the case. But that's his journey, not my problem no more. um, and I think part of why I got into that situation was because I knew that and kind of felt sorry for him on that end. But then when we were together, it's like he obviously hated women anyway, and I think his mom probably contributed to his rejection of that part of himself. I had a dream that he told me he was, and when I told him in person about this dream, it was as he started talking to me in a way that sounded like he was on the verge of telling me this thing, and he freaked out when I told him about the dream. And then it's like he came at me harder in various ways, just not nice. So yeah, that's his journey, that's not mine. But that was part, I think, of how I got into that willingly as I did. Which, not that it was, I'm not saying it was a healthy thing. It wasn't. I've said before, in my unhealed state, I too was toxic, because that's the whole unhealed basically equals toxic at some level. And it doesn't matter if, okay, after I left him, I got on this, like, these narcissistic support group pages on Facebook. And it felt very much like everybody was saying, oh, poor pitiful you, that very much, you very much weren't, that you didn't do anything wrong in any kind of way. But at the same time, the sheer fact of being unhealed is what allows for the toxic stuff to be, or to come in, to be drawn to you. So, but it seemed like they were all very much, we all went through this hard thing and none of us deserved it, but we're going to wallow in the victimhood thing. And it's like, fuck that, y'all. It's like, I don't want to be a victim my whole life. No. It's like, I know I can make choices and have a better life going forward, just because everything kind of was shit for a while. And I'm seeing now, as I do work through it, and as I go through the process of healing and trying to fix it, and yes, it is a journey, it is not one and done, it's a healing spiral. You keep coming back to points that you thought you were beyond, and realizing like there's more to it, and deeper levels of it. And it's like, we're doing that one again. Okay. Yeah. So that was kind of where I was at with the stuff with my grandfather last night. And then I got home last night and discovered my female cockatiel died. So it's like, well, that sucks. The bearded dragon that I keep thinking is on the brink of dying is still sticking it out, and like, she looks like she's dead, and then I'll go in there and poke her with these tongs, and then she looks at me, she'll like half open an eye. It's like, are you alive or not? Like, I fed her like 20 times and she would never eat anything. It's like, oh, she's like 9 or 10. So I don't know. The other one made it to 9. He died last year. Since the bird died, I'm kind of wondering if this is getting ready to be another series of deaths that come my way. Because, there were some animal deaths last year, and then we got into, my uncle passed away in February. Family friend passed away in March. There was a former coworker of mine that passed away, either February or March, back in there. But it's like, there's these other things, and then all at once there's people, and it's like, And then I heard of several others that had in that time too. Sun's going down, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up. But I'm kind of wondering if, since the bird's starting it off, if we're getting ready to be at that point again, which I realized that, okay, so I've talked a lot about my great-grandfather on here, and his death when I was 7 was this big traumatic thing for me. And I think, from what I have learned in the past several months, it's because I am an open channel. As I've said several times, I think I was basically receiving all this heavy, dense energy from like the family, as at the funeral. That whole thing, my mom has always said that she never heard such gut-wrenching sobs as came out of me that day. It's like, well, okay, so that was my big traumatic experience with death, but I think it was more, I was receiving these energies that I didn't know that was a thing. Nobody knew that was a thing. At least nobody I was related to, so, let alone that it was something that I needed to work through. But then there was a bunch of like traumatic events that caused me to not be able to release it. Like if now I'm finding, okay, when I went to my uncle's funeral, I had learned from Lanita, she talked about the left, or your non-dominant hand being your receiving hand and the dominant hand being the giving hand. And she was talking about you can send energies back into the earth. So it's like, oh. And I found out when I had this little interaction with a homeless woman, and it's like I got hit with this wave of erratic emotional energy. I like put my hand, my left hand or my right hand down, so I was like facing the ground, and it's like, oh, it does kind of deflect it, huh? So when I was at my uncle's funeral, I had my left hand up, my right hand down at the ground. It's like, nothing's sticking. And I can tell whenever I stop doing it, because it might not be like immediate, but I always like start tearing up as soon as I stop sending it back to the earth. It's like, ooh, this is a thing. So, so there's that. Anyway, it's getting dark. Oh yeah, I think that's a big thing on whenever my grandparents do, like I said back in, I don't know when, I said a long time ago, I felt like I got cards that talked about the sisters of the season, and it said, be mindful of what season you're in. And then my grandparents had been in and out of the hospital a bunch in a short span of time, and then my uncle passed away, and then there was the series of deaths and stuff, and it's like, okay. So I kind of figured that this was going to be a big death year anyway. It's been a while since I've heard about anybody else. Of course, the bird starting me in on it again. Last night, I was like, all right, I guess this is a thing again. But yeah, there's that, and I'm going to wrap it up because I'm getting ready to be in the dark, and I picked the one freaking street light to park under that doesn't apparently have a working light bulb. Oh well, I see lights, so yeah. Anyway, as always, I appreciate you, and until the next time, see you later.